In May of 2023, a quiet liquidation auction happened in DeWitt, Nebraska, that the American hand tool industry has spent the last 3 years trying to bury. Why is the factory that once built the most iconic pliers in America now sitting empty for the second time in 15 years? Why does the brand that most professional mechanics consider the absolute gold standard of pliers turn out to be made by union workers in a small German town? And why are there only 4 manufacturers left in the entire United States still drop forging pliers from American steel? We are going to expose the corporate playbook that has gutted American tool manufacturing, name every brand that lied to you about where its pliers come from, and show you the 4 survivors actually worth your money. If you walk down the pliers aisle at any Home Depot or Lowe's, you might believe you are looking at a competitive American marketplace with dozens of heritage brands. You see names like Crescent, Craftsman, Stanley, Husky, Cobalt, Klein, Channellock, and you assume these are different American companies competing for your toolbox. That is an illusion. The reality is that the vast majority of those names are now owned by 2 publicly traded conglomerates and a Boston-based private equity firm. Stanley Black Decker has spent the last decade buying up Craftsman, Irwin, Vise-Grip, Lennox, and dozens of other heritage names. And most of that production now happens in China, Taiwan, and Mexico. Apex Tool Group, which owns Crescent, Gear Wrench, Lufkin, and Nicholson, was owned by Bain Capital from 2013 until 2024, when their own lenders seized the company in a debt-for-equity restructure. When you buy a pair of Crescent pliers today, you are not buying from a small team of forgers in Jamestown, New York. You are buying from a brand whose original factory closed in 1984, whose production was offshored, and whose own internal employees have publicly described the quality as, quote, a complete disaster with over 3,000 part numbers discontinued under private equity ownership. But here is what almost no consumer realizes. Out of every brand on that hardware store shelf, there are only 4 manufacturers in the entire country still hammering pliers from American steel inside an American factory, and one of them is dying right now in real time. To understand what is being lost, you have to start in 1886 in Meadville, Pennsylvania. A blacksmith named George Dearmont was unsatisfied with the quality of farriers' tools available to him, so he started forging his own and selling them from a horse-drawn wagon. By 1902, his tools were so respected that King Edward VII of England placed an order from across the Atlantic. In 1933, the company's chief engineer, a man named Howard Manning, invented the tongue-and-groove slip-joint plier, the design every American now calls a, quote, Channellock. The trademark became so genericized, like Kleenex or Band-Aid, that the company legally renamed itself Channellock Incorporated in 1963 just to protect it. Today, Channellock is still owned and operated by the Dearmont family, now in the 4th and 5th generations of continuous family management. They employ over 325 people in Meadville, ship to 45 countries, and produce over 75 different types of pliers, all drop forged from C1080 high-carbon American steel. Ryan Dearmont, the current vice president of sales, is the great-grandson of the founder. The company spends an estimated $100,000 every single year fighting Chinese counterfeiters who try to copy their patented blue handle, a color so distinctive that Pantone 299C is literally trademarked to Channellock and nobody else on the planet. Over a single decade in the early 2000s, Channellock spent over $825,000 defending its trademark globally. They have had Indian-made knockoff pliers seized by sheriff's deputies at trade shows in Chicago. They sued Cooper Industries, the former owner of Crescent, into dropping a trademark fight rather than face a jury trial. In 2017, the family raised a 150-foot flagpole flying a 30 by 60-foot American flag over the Meadville plant. John Dearmont, the 5th-generation owner who installed it, said this, "There is confusion among consumers around Made in USA claims. Some of our competitors claim Made in USA with imported components, but that is not what Made in USA truly means." That statement was a direct shot at the brands sitting next to Channellock on every hardware store shelf in America, And to understand exactly who he was firing at, you have to look at what those competitors actually sell, because the offshoring of heritage names was only the first stage of how this industry was gutted. The materials and the manufacturing process themselves have been engineered down to the lowest possible cost. The most fatal flaw in modern import pliers is not the design. It is the metallurgy. American manufacturers like Channellock, Klein, and Wild drop forge their pliers, which means a glowing hot steel billet is hammered between precision dies until the grain structure of the metal aligns with the shape of the tool. This makes the pliers stronger, more fatigue resistant, and dimensionally precise. Cheap import pliers, by contrast, are often cast, meaning molten metal is just poured into a mold. Cast metal has a coarse grain structure, internal porosity, and air bubbles. It looks identical to forged steel under chrome plating, but the moment you put real torque on it, the jaws splay, the teeth round off, or the pivot cracks. Now layer on top of that the heat treatment problem. Channellock uses radio frequency hardening on the jaw teeth and laser hardening on the cutting edges. Klein Tools forges its own custom tool steel at a plant in Elk Grove Village, Illinois, and induction hardens the cutters on every pair. Wild Tool drop forges from premium alloy steels in Hiawatha, Kansas, and has held a lifetime warranty for almost a century. Cheap imports often skip these steps or apply them inconsistently, which is why a $15 set of pliers from a big box store will lose its bite in 6 months, while a $40 Channellock will outlive the person holding it. But the real horror story is what happened to the brand that invented the locking pliers. In 1924, a Danish immigrant blacksmith named William Peterson patented the original Vise-Grip in DeWitt, Nebraska. By 1928, his factory employed over 600 people in a town of fewer than 600. Vise-Grips welded the hulls of Liberty cargo ships in World War II. They were standard issue in U.S. military toolkits across 2 continents. They were a piece of American industrial heritage. Then in 2002, Newell Rubbermaid bought the parent company outright, and on October 31st, 2008, Newell shut the DeWitt plant and moved every single Vise-Grip job to China. 330 workers were terminated in a town with a population of just 572. That is more than half the entire town's population, gone in a single corporate decision. Restaurants closed, the school lost students. The local hardware store could not find customers. For 10 years, the factory sat empty, the equipment rusting, the town collapsing around the silent building. Then in 2018, an employee-owned company from Minnesota called Malco Products SBC bought the building, hired back 7 of the original Vise-Grip workers, and launched a new line of locking pliers called Eagle Grip. The Nebraska governor flew in for the grand opening and held the first pair off the line. Tool reviewers tested the new Eagle Grips and called them, quote, the best locking pliers ever made. Better than vintage American Vise-Grips, better than Knipex. By every objective measure, the revival worked. They were using American steel. They were paying union scale wages. They were the highest rated locking pliers on the market. And then in late 2022, Malco quietly announced they were discontinuing the entire Eagle Grip product line. All 63 workers were laid off. The same town lost the same factory for the second time in 14 years. You might think a story this stark would force the industry to change course. It has not. In May of 2023, the entire 500,000 square foot inventory of locking pliers, manufacturing equipment was hauled to a liquidation auction. The forging dies, the heat treat ovens, the assembly jigs, all of it sold off piece by piece. The Eagle Grip website was taken down. The building was listed for sale. The CEO of Malco said the platform, quote, did not fit our core competency. What he did not say is that they were trying to sell a $30 American-made locking plier into an Amazon search result dominated by $15 Chinese-made Irwin Vise-Grips owned by Stanley Black Decker, the very same company that bought the Vise-Grip name from Newell after the original closure. They lost the price war the same way Western Forge in Colorado Springs lost it in February of 2020, when they laid off 164 workers and closed the doors after 54 years of making Craftsman tools. The same way the original Crescent factory in Jamestown, New York, lost it in 1984 after 77 years of operation. So if every shelf at the hardware store is rigged against you, What should you actually buy? Your American forged options are exactly 4 brands. Channellock in Meadville, Pennsylvania, where the DeArmond family is in its 5th generation of operation. Klein Tools in Mansfield, Texas, where the Klein family is still running the company in its 5th and 6th generations, with around 1,200 employees and over $200 million invested in American manufacturing in the last decade alone. Wild Tool in Hiawatha, Kansas, with just 17 employees, family owned by the Froeschel family for over 100 years, the quietest survivor on the list, who once made bayonets for the M1 Garand rifle during World War II, and the 4th slot, Malco Eagle Grip, is right now in the process of disappearing forever. By the time you watch this, the 4 may already be 3, and here is the twist almost no American buyer knows. The brand most professional mechanics will tell you is the absolute best in the world. The brand that costs $40 to $50 for a single pair of pliers, the brand whose Cobra water pump pliers are considered the global gold standard, Knipex. That brand is not American. It was founded in 1882 in Wuppertal, Germany, by a man named Carl Gustav Putsch. It is still owned by the Putsch family in the 4th generation, 144 years after its founding. 1,500 unionized German workers produce 21 million pliers a year out of a single factory in Wuppertal. Knipex has never been bought by private equity. They have never offshored production. The reason Americans assume Knipex is an American premium brand is that their Chicago area subsidiary handles all North American distribution, the marketing is in English, and their premium pricing matches the price of real American-made tools. The lesson here is brutal. The pliers most American professionals trust as the best on earth are made by a 4th-generation family-owned company that simply refused to do what every American competitor did, which is sell out, offshore, and let the brand rot. The era of widespread American hand tool manufacturing is not coming back, and the conglomerates are betting on you not noticing the difference. They are counting on you to grab the cheaper Crescent off the peg without realizing it is the same brand whose own employees have publicly called the quality control a disaster. So check the label. Look for Meadville, Pennsylvania, or Mansfield, Texas, or Hiawatha, Kansas. Pay the extra $10 for the forged American tool that will outlive you instead of the cast Chinese tool that will round off its teeth in a single season. Buy from the survivors before there are no survivors left to buy from. And if you found this expose useful, hit that subscribe button so you do not miss the next one. Because there are about a dozen more American industries where the exact same playbook is running right now, and we are taking them apart one at a time.